Welcome to Bedtime Stories. The Hardwoven Carpet. Long ago there lived a lazy girl who refused to do a bit of work on her family's large farm. When her father asked her to tend the sheep, she walked them toward a cliff, and her father had to run to stop her. "Never mind, I'll look after them by myself," he said to her lazy daughter. Never mind, she smiled, for that had been her plan. And when her mother asked her to help in threshing the grain, she spilled it, and her mother had to shoo her away. So every day she lay beneath the fig trees or wandered in the garden or lounged beside the stream. At long last the parents got tired of her behavior and attitude. They sent her to their curtain weaving room near the garden. "You will weave a carpet as large as the garden," they said. The lazy daughter laughed and pretended to fumble with the threads that hung upon the loom, but her father said, "No tricks and no excuses this time. You will stay until the carpet is finished. You will eat and sleep upon this mat. It's time you learned to do some constructive work." With that her parents went away. Now she had just begun to cry when she heard a deep voice call, "I'll help you." She turned around and saw only a camel standing there, and then she turned back to the loom to weep. "I said I'll help you," the voice echoed, and she turned again. "Camels can't speak," she said. The camel sighed. "Who told you that?" "No one, but I know," she said. "There's no time for talk. You must weave a carpet, and you do not want to do the work right, so I'll weave the carpet for you." She laughed. "Camels can't weave." "Who says?" the camel asked, and with that he stepped toward the loom, opened his mouth, and bit down on the threads. He tossed his head backward and forward, and to her astonishment, he began to weave. "You're wonderful," she cried. "And you say you'll weave the whole carpet for me?" "Sure I will, but on one condition," said the camel. "Anything for you," the lazy girl said. "I'd like some water," he said. "You'll have to look after all my needs." She happily agreed, and the camel set to work at once, but not before he sent her to fetch water from the well. Off she ran, and soon she returned carrying a large bucket of water. The camel drank it all in one big swallow and sent her for more. By mid-afternoon, he had drunk 6 buckets of water, and the girl's arms shook with exhaustion. Still, the camel was hard at work, and the carpet was getting woven, and so she said nothing. That night the servants came with a plate of food, but when she sat to eat the camel coughed and said, "Ahem, I'll need that food." The girl reluctantly passed him her plate. "We can share, I suppose," she said, but the camel gulped down the whole meal all by himself. "Oh well," she said, "at least I don't have to weave." That night the camel demanded to sleep on the mat, covered with her blanket. She lay outside under the stars, happy enough for she won't have to weave. The next day was the same, and so was the next, but the camel grew more demanding. "I'm feeling hot," he would call her. "Come fan me," and she stood fanning the camel as he worked. In the afternoons, he then demanded to be brushed. By the third day the carpet was getting woven even more beautiful, and her shoulders grew sore and her stomach growled. She walked to the orchard and climbed the trees and picked some figs and apples to eat, but when she lay down under the tree to rest, the camel called, "I need more water." Again she ran to the well with a huge bucket to fetch water. At last, on the 6th day, the carpet was finished. It was magnificent. She clapped her hands. "My parents will be so happy," she said. "I will go to my mother now." But, when she turned to go, the camel said, "Please, before you leave, I need some more water." She stared at him. "But our bargain is over," she said. "The carpet is finished." "Oh no," said the camel. "Not yet, little girl. If you do not fetch my water and feed me and fan me and let me sleep inside, I'll tell your mother of our bargain, and she'll know that you did not weave the carpet." She stared and thought about the weight of water bucket, and the hard ground and the sweat that dripped from her forehead as she fanned and brushed the camel's coat. She knew she was trapped. The girl at once ran to her parents. "Come," she said, "I must show you something," and she led them to the weaving room. "Here is my carpet ready," she announced. Her parents were delighted. "It's exquisite," her mother sighed. "But I confess," she said, pointing to the camel, "it was not I who weaved the carpet. It was the camel who did it, and I fed him and brought him water and brushed his coat and fanned him, but he made the carpet, and I'm ashamed." She bowed her head. Her parents smiled, and her mother reached to pat her daughter's back for telling them the truth. "What?" the daughter said. "You're not angry with me. I think you've learned your lesson," her father said. "With half of all these work you did for the camel, you might have made the carpet yourself." She knew this was true. Her father reached over and patted the camel, and the daughter wondered if her father and the camel had conjured this trick together. She never did find out, but from that day on she did all her tasks without complaining and cribbing, and the camel never again spoke to her. She noticed that he always had a gleam in his eye when he looked at her. If you like the story, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you for listening. Good night.